Good morning, everybody. I lost my voice, excuse me, which I actually forgot about until I just started talking right now. I haven't spoken to anyone today yet. I want to talk today about imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is a psychological concept, I suppose, in which you feel like you don't deserve to be where you are. So in your job, you feel like, oh my gosh, if they find out that I don't know what I'm doing, I'll get fired and I'll be ruined and embarrassed and publicly humiliated or something like that. Imposter syndrome shows up in the art world in numerous ways. For myself, I definitely feel that sometimes, like, oh my gosh, when they figure out that I have no idea what I'm doing, they'll be like, what is she doing? What is she doing these videos for? She's a crazy person. The other thing that shows up where if you're going to publicly present your art. So I just had my first solo gallery show last night. The opening was last night. And I've done art fairs in the past where I have my own booth and, show a bunch of art. And that was one step toward this giant imposter syndrome. But that was when I invited people to the art fairs. I was inviting people to a day of, an afternoon of art to walk around in a cute little city and visit a whole bunch of other artists as well. So last night was my first experience inviting people to come see a show that was just my art. Like, that was the destination. If they wanted to come, they would be coming just to see my art. And I did not expect it to be so different from the art show. And it was so categorically different from the art show for me. The imposter syndrome was like at an 11. I knew that I wanted to bring my art. I knew I wanted to show it. I haven't shown my art for a long time. And it was certainly exciting, and it was nice to have people believe in me and be excited for me. But it was like next level imposter syndrome. I was having these I was like, what if no one shows up? Like, what if it's just me and my husband like twiddling our thumbs at the gallery? And the reality is, if that had been the case, it still would have been okay. Would have been a date night, right? We don't get many of those. The reality and the logic was that the stakes were very low, right? What happens? I have my art in a really pretty room and it looks great and I get to look at it and see it and invite friends to it. This is a very first world problem, right? This is not even a problem at all. And I was surprised at how much my negative self-talk was in my head. Like, are you sure you should even be doing this? Maybe we should just not do this at all and you should just stay home and watch TV. Like, maybe, all this chatter. So I want to talk today about what to do when that happens and how to recognize it for what it is and how to remember that the thoughts that we think and the things that we tell ourselves inside our head, just because we're saying them and we're hearing them does not mean they're true. Big rule, number one rule, probably the only rule is that it's important to listen to your thoughts, but then also take it objectively any way you can and share your thoughts with other people so they can help you right-size them. And I'm going to do a separate post about the actual show. But I just wanted to talk about imposter syndrome today and how it shows up. It shows up to me when I make these videos at times also. And this project that I've been working on, this is a continuation from last week, is definitely another one of those moments where I lost my compass and I was just kind of painting and very unsure how it was going to turn out. And I want to show that to you now. So this is where we left off last week. I have this incredibly loud, exuberant collage that, while it was fun to make, is not something that I would like to leave as it is. When I was making this video, I was actually making it specifically for an online summit that, don't worry, this is not what I actually used for the summit. But I think because I started off making it for something in particular, and I was trying to back into the title and description that I had given them months previously, or in previous months, I was in my head. And that's never a good place for me personally to start off my art. So it went from loud boldness, and now I'm adding color. Again, like the color palette I've used these colors before, but it is definitely an interesting color palette. But I'm not here to critique my art. I am here to talk to you guys about imposter syndrome. And even in this instance, as I was creating this, that was intended to be for an online lesson that I had committed to making, I felt like, right, as like the farther away from my normal art that this got in a way that was not pleasing to me, the more the imposter syndrome was firing up. It was like the imposter syndrome was lifting weights with every color I added, that I was like, oh, I don't know about this red here. And I kept going because I thought, well, I'm just going to keep going. That's what I tell people to do. That's what has worked for me in the past. Let's just keep going and see what happens. And the funny thing is, and the thing that I do want to point out, is the motions I'm going through are not different than my normal process. It's just that in this particular instance, in my mind, they were not going the way that I wanted them to. And that's one thing. Okay, so that's fine. The other thing is sometimes things just don't work, and that's okay. And since I'm the artist, I get to decide what's working and what's not working. And it just wasn't working for me. And because I had this expectation that I was going to give this to someone else for their online summit and represent myself with this video, the pressure was already a little higher than normal. And I was the more I tried to make it work, the more the voices in my head were going like, why are you even doing this? What are you doing with your life? Well, it wasn't quite that bad. I don't take it quite that seriously. But that was just the kind of like the little doubts of like, really? Huh. And you tell other people how to help their art? Interesting, Jackie. You can't pull this off. Huh. Okay. Right? Really insidious stuff. So from the beginning, my goal was to make this into a mixed media, very clearly painting with some collage built in. Once I started painting colors on top and I got this teal color on, I was like, oh, I just need to cover up the collage. I think this is the direction to go. And it helped things come together more. When I make videos to put on YouTube for my channel, I'm only representing myself. And there's freedom in that. I know some of you guys think I'm very, very brave to do this. And I'll give myself some credit for that. I will do that. But at the same time, whatever I record, I don't have to post, right? So whenever I'm actually making my art, there's less pressure because I'm just at home by myself in my studio painting. So if I ever made something that I thought was horrific, I would never have to post it. I'm not doing this live most of the time. Although I'm going to try and do some more lives soon. I know I keep saying that. I promise I will do some lives soon. But there's much less pressure. But knowing that this video, I was under a deadline, I had to get it going. It was just, it set me up. I set myself up in a position that felt very pressureful. And because I'm really good at procrastinating, I just waited a little too long to get started. So there was an extra time component, etc. But all that said, I knew I could do this because I make videos every week and I love making videos. So the fact that I was having such difficulty turning this into something when I knew that it was physically possible for me to pull this off was a challenge. And I think when we're growing and pushing our boundaries and taking bigger steps, right? This was a bigger step for me just to be in front of a completely different audience than you, wonderful people, just to be exposed to different people. I wanted to make sure that I was submitting something that I was proud of. And as I kept going, I kept thinking, like, how am I going to make this something I'm really proud of? And it was just all in my head. It doesn't even matter what the art looked like at a certain point. It just mattered that I was so in my head and so judgy. If you've ever played sports, I played sports. I was playing volleyball a long time ago with like a park district league. This is nothing super competitive at all. But one of the people on my team that I happened to be dating at the time, every time I'd make a mistake, he would come over and tell me how to not make that mistake. And it was so unhelpful because I was getting annoyed with him because obviously I want to keep the volleyball off the ground. I get that, right? It was very strange. But every time that happened, I would think like, don't screw up, don't screw up, don't screw up. And the more you think that, the more you mess up because it's in your head. You're just too in your head. Long story short, I didn't play well that game and just was like, I just can't play sports with this person. And we didn't date very long either. But it's like, this is not a good supportive role here in my life. And when I was making this, every time I added something, it felt like, oh, maybe this will save it. I don't know. And right here, I'm actually kind of liking this part. It's shaping up. It's becoming more fun. It's less, I don't know. I guess just a little less. How about that? There's a little bit less distraction, a little bit less visual, at least from a patterning perspective. There's less patterns, more paint, some quiet spaces. We're getting there. And it's just important to take stock. I was saying this last night to people I was speaking with. It's important just to take a minute and remember that this is just paint and paper. No one said I had to keep doing this. At a certain point, it changed to like a personal, I don't know if vendetta is the right word, but like a personal challenge that I wanted to see if I could actually make something out of this. Because at a certain point, it was so far from what I had anticipated it might be. And I want to see if I could turn it into something that looked more like me. And if it didn't work out, it's just paint and paper in one afternoon. Now, I know where it ended up since all of this, and I'm still not quite sure if I love it and if it represents me well. But I like it a lot more than I did in the beginning, I'll tell you that much. It has so many layers on it. It's unreal. But the fun of making this one was really like completely out of my comfort zone. So I guess in the beginning it wasn't necessarily fun with like a capital F. It was more like fun, like, hey, funny story. My car got a flat tire on the way to work. One of those kind of fun things. But I'm simultaneously proud of myself for that I kept going, and also like as I watch myself struggle through this painting again, thinking like, Jackie, you can just take a different piece of paper and do that instead. I think that sometimes it is absolutely best to keep pushing forward. I think if we can't always quit, we can't always give up, or we would never make anything in life, in art, etc. But I do think sometimes quitting gets a bad rap. When I was younger, I took piano lessons for like 6 years, I think when I was, first grade through whatever. And then I took saxophone for a year and then didn't like that. And then I tried oboe and did not like that at all. So I quit that real fast after a couple months. And then I took flute for a little while. And then I just stopped with instruments. And my mom allowed me to change. She let me change my mind. And it wasn't that big of a deal. My husband grew up differently, right? Everyone has different rules in their family. And quitting was kind of not a thing because you made a commitment and you should follow through on that commitment. I don't think either one of these ways is right or wrong. They're just different. But the way that I look at it, and the way I think my mom looked at it at the time, was she's like, well, if you didn't like the flute, I didn't see what good it would do to make you play the flute. Because it's not like you had to learn math. It was an instrument. You wanted to take instruments, you wanted to try things, right? If I had to commit to playing saxophone for the next 8 years, I never would have been able to try the flute and the oboe. I never would have had those experiences because I would have been locked into something different. And it turned out instruments were not my thing. That's okay. I had more time for art. I had more time for playing with my friends and building skills and whatever else I did. I'm using my imagination. So personally, I really think there's a place for quitting. If something's not serving you and you don't have to do it, do something else that you enjoy more. So if anyone's sitting here thinking like, someone told me I have to paint and I don't like painting, but I have to paint because they told me I have to, please let me give you permission to do something different. Just go for a bike ride, right? Like write, do anything other than, what it is that's you don't like doing. Now, if you don't like doing something because it feels hard or it's uncomfortable because it's hard, but you really want to do it, like if you really want to learn how to paint, but it's frustrating, then I would encourage you to stick with it. So if you find joy in it, right? Sometimes it just goes well magically and you're like, oh my gosh, I made this amazing thing, but I don't know how to redo that again because now the next 3 are not what I want. I feel that feeling. That happened to me for a long time. I would, urge you to stick with it in that case. And that's actually when imposter syndrome flares up a lot too. You made one thing that you loved and you cannot figure out how you did it, why it worked, etc. And then you feel like, I'm not a painter, I just lucked out. Well, maybe you lucked out a little bit, but you lucked out because you were doing it, because you showed up, you were painting, you were giving yourself the at-bats and the practice and the going through the motions, and all of that adds up. I started my sentence somewhere else. I don't remember where it was, so I'm just going to keep going. So long story short, if you do not find joy in something that you do not have to do for your livelihood, to feed your kids, to, get through life, please pick something different. Try something. You might not like the next thing either, but that's okay. Then try something else. You don't have to do something for 20 years to decide if you like it. If you don't like it, do something else. Life's too short to do something that you don't like, especially if it's in your leisure time. But you are an artist if you find joy making art, whether it's good art, quote unquote, right? Depending on who decides that or not. And there's that old Ira Glass, essay, I guess, or I don't know if he said it out loud at first, but talking about your taste level is often established much higher than your skill level when you start something. So you can be a painter for 10 years and know that your paintings aren't where you want them to be or where you wish they were. That does not mean you don't belong painting. That just means you haven't spent enough hours and enough time doing the thing, showing up, creating art, to get to the point that your skill level matches your taste level. It will happen. You will get there. So if you love doing it, but you don't love your results yet, keep painting, keep creating. The other thing is, there's tons of stuff that I don't love that other people are like, oh my gosh, that is my favorite thing you've ever made. I'm like, really? Huh, okay. So it may not be where you want it to be, but other people might find beauty in it anyway. And there were many times, and there still are many times, even in this painting that I'm working on now, there are many times where I'm like, oh, I really like this part of it. Huh, okay. I really like how I made that yellow shape on the bottom right. It kind of almost looks a little teeny bit like a Chinese character. I like that part. I like how the layers, I'm layering the different, slightly different shades of yellow there. A little bit lighter on top. I like that part. And you can see that there's that one piece of collage, the black tissue paper, which shows the fluorescent red through it. That's the only piece I have not covered up. Oh, sorry, that and the stripes above it. I've covered up every other piece of collage so far, but I keep saving those parts. Ultimately, I decided that it just looks now conspicuous because I'm coloring around that instead of going over it. But there's always little things that you'll learn to do the more you do it. I could have just called this whole thing, just do the thing, right? This I keep going back to. Just do the thing. Do the thing that lights you up. Do the thing that brings you joy. Let someone else decide if it's good. Take that out of your purview. It's your job to show up and do it. It's someone else's job to decide if it's good. I think that's an old Andy Warhol quote. I'm probably misquoting all these things. This is not a factual YouTube video. This is just me talking. I'm so glad I'm not like a news reporter. I would be a terrible news reporter. I'd be misquoting everything. But I do think that is Andy Warhol. No one's going to get hurt if you're painting something ugly. No one got hurt when I made this. And this is just paint over paint over paint. And then I put it on. And then I hesitate with paper towels. And then I wipe it off. And then I think, I probably should have left that. Okay. Yeah, there's so many things that I build up in my head, right? What if no one shows up to my art show? But then if I actually think about, okay, well, what if that does happen? Like, is that really the worst case scenario? Then that's not really that bad. Does my ego get a little bruised? Sure. Do I feel sad because my friends didn't come out? Sure. But you know what? People have other stuff going on. I miss tons of social things that I would love to be at and love my friends and wish I could support them, up close and personal with their things. And lots of times I can't because my kids are sick or whatever. Life just happens. As long as you keep showing up. And showing up can mean many things. Showing up can mean painting if you like to paint. Showing up can be trying painting if you're not sure if you're going to like it. Showing up can be posting a picture of you holding artwork on your Instagram. Showing up can just be showing your spouse something you made. And showing up can just be writing in your journal about how you've always wanted to paint and you're not sure how to do it, but you're going to try. You can sign up for a class in your park district. There are a million ways to show up. You can do it in the smallest steps you need. You don't have to dive in. If you want to dive in, go for it. But there are levels of things. And if you find that you continue to tell yourself again and again, I'm not doing it right, I'm not good enough, I shouldn't be here, I shouldn't waste this sketchbook, I shouldn't waste this paint on this thing that I made because I don't like it. Please talk to someone that loves you and encourages you. Just write in your journal. Write all of those things down that are in your head. Because when you look at them in black and white, it'll give you a little distance and you might be able to say, hey, wait a second. Aren't I allowed to just try something? I can't be great at something before I even try it, right? Thanks for watching. Keep showing up. Keep doing what you love. And don't worry about the rest.